Hey everyone, my name is Anshu Pandit. I'm your civics educator at Study Room. Today we are going to start with the next chapter of class 10 civics, that is federalism. In this chapter we are going to study what exactly the term federalism is. What is India a federal form of a country? How federalism is practiced within our country and the decentralization process within the country. Okay, along with the quick revision of what we have studied so far in the end. So let's go. So, in the previous chapter, power sharing, we got to know about the cases of Belgium and Sri Lanka. What we studied there, that in Belgium and Sri Lanka, there were certain issues of power sharing that was happening within different communities within those countries. So, in Belgium, they had the French and the Dutch people, differences in terms of the French and language, French and Dutch people. So, there were issues between both of them. What was happening there, that there were certain demands that they were not being fulfilled at that time. So what they did, they tried to accommodate those differences and diversity by amending the constitution, by supporting and respecting the differences. And in 1993, what they did, in 1993, regional governments were given constitutional powers. It's not like that before it, regional governments were not having any power or so. They were having, regional government existed in Belgium even before that as well. But all these powers were given to these governments, could be withdrawn by the central government anytime. Like, they were not having independent powers, or we can say the powers were not permanent. They could be taken away by the central government anytime. But by 1993, what happened? Their powers were given to them, constitutionally given to them. So that makes them quite independent and powerful. In Sri Lanka, the case was quite different. What happened? There were issues between the Tamil and Sinhala community there. Okay. So these two communities were having differences, where Sinhala was in majority and Tamil were in minority. So what they did, they tried to maintain their supremacy by suppressing the Tamils and conducting majoritarian measures. And in that way, what they did, in this way, they made the national government having all the powers. They wanted the national government, which was conducted or which was controlled by Sinhala community only, to have all the powers and without giving any regional powers to the regional government at region level. Okay. So in Belgium, they transformed from a unitary to a federal form of a government. But this was not in the case of Sri Lanka. They were only unitary only. Okay, let's move ahead. So what is federalism? What is federalism? Federalism is a system of a government in which the power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units of the country. System of a government, power divided between the central authority, this is important, and various constituent units. So what we can see here as well, in the federal form of government, there are like two levels of the government. One is a government for the entire country level. Okay, that is usually responsible for few subjects. Like, this is this is responsible for only few subjects of national and common importance. That is known as the national government. And the state government, that is the other form of a government at the level of province or state, that looks after the issues of day-to-day administration of the state. This is known as the state government. Keeps on talking about the state government, national government. Okay, then we have the people of the states at the lowest level. Okay, and then in unitary, it's quite different. We have the national government, and then exactly at the end we have the people, which are being governed by the national government. Okay, so that's how in unitary takes place. The differences between federal and the unitary form of government is something like that. In federation is contrasted with the unitary form of government, that in unitary there is only one level of a governance. Okay, as we can see here as well, there is only one level of a governance which control the people of the country. But in federal system, the central government cannot order the state government to do something. Like, the central government cannot order the state government to do something which is not in its jurisdiction. So it should be within its jurisdiction. The state government has a power of its own, for which it is not answerable to the central government. So it gives importance to the state government, or like it's give autonomy or independent power to the state government to have their own powers, alright, which is not in the unitary system case. Okay, so that's how federal and unitary are quite different. in terms of the jurisdiction and the powers which has been distributed. Okay, in federalism, the powers are the central authority and the various constituent units. Let's move ahead. So there are 7 features of federalism. Remember people, we have 7 features of federalism, which is very important. We need to just memorize it, like what are the 7 features. So we can have 2 or more levels of the government. We talked about it earlier as well, that we can have a union government, then the state government that we have, and we can also have the local government. In India we have local government as well. So that makes 3 levels of the government. So different tiers of the government, where each tier has its own jurisdiction. Each has its own jurisdiction. What we can say, that each one has its own power, its own area of power that they can control. So this is second. They can have, first is the 2 or more levels of the government can exist. Second is the different tiers of government where each tier has its own jurisdiction. Number third, that these jurisdiction of the tiers of the government are specified. These are specified in the constitution. The powers which are exercised by the union, state or local government are specified within the constitution. Okay, which is our sacred book. Then fourth is the changes in the constitution require the consent of both the levels of the government. It is very important to have both the consent of both the levels of the government to make any form of changes in the constitution. Alright. Then the fifth one that we have, it gives the importance of the courts here. It interprets the constitution and the powers of different levels of the government. So it acts as a referee kind of a, courts act as a referee in terms of any issues that happen within the national and the state government, and they interpret the constitution. So their role is to interpret the constitution and the powers of different levels of the government, so that issues shouldn't exist within the government. Okay. Then the sixth, we have the sources of revenue. The sources of revenue for each level of the government are clearly specified to ensure financial autonomy. So to have financial autonomy, it is very important for the government to specify the sources of revenue. Okay. So this is how the sixth feature of federalism. And the seventh one is dual objectives. Alright. It is to promote unity. And accommodate the diversity. It is very important for us to promote unity and accommodate the diversity that exists. Okay, that is to safeguard and promote the unity of the country while at the same time be accommodating the regional diversity. Therefore, the 2 aspects are crucial for the institution and practice of the federalism. Okay, government at different levels should agree to some rules of power sharing, and they should also trust that each other would abide by its part of the agreement. And we can also talk about it, the ideal federal system has both aspects. Okay, an ideal federal system have both the aspects, that is having mutual trust. One should have mutual trust, and number second is agreement to live together basically. Okay. Okay, so let's move ahead of what we have studied. So there are 2 routes to the formation of federation. Okay, so the exact balance of power between the central and the state varies when one federation to another. So this also depends upon the type of federation that is we are going to go for. Okay, so the first route involves independent states coming together on their own. Here we have this independent states coming together of their own to form a bigger unit. As we can see here, this is an example of United States of America, where 50 states, these states come together. These were independent states, they come together so that by to form a bigger unit, so that by pooling sovereignty and retaining identity, they can increase their security. So independent states coming together to form of a big unit is known as coming together federation. We have coming together federation. Okay, so taking the examples, what we can have, we have example as USA, we have Switzerland, and what we have Australia as well. So these are the examples of coming together federation that we have there. Okay, and then the second one is large country divides the power. So we can see here in the second one, there is a large country which decides to divide its power between the constituent states and the national government. In between what? Let's write it. Between the national government and the constituent states. Constituent states, alright. So we can see that here we have an example of India. This holding together federation. This type of is known as holding together federation. Holding together federation. So in this, the second category, central government tends to be more powerful. The thing is, the central government will be the more powerful one in comparison to the states. Okay. So very often the different constituent units of the federation have unequal powers and some units are granted special powers. So in this case, in the earlier case, we have independent states which were coming together to form a bigger unit. But in this, we have a large country in which we then divide the powers at the state levels. Okay. So in this mostly happens what the central government have more power in comparison to the state governments. That's how which these are differed from each other. Okay. Coming together and holding together federation. Let's move ahead. What makes India a federal country? This is very important for us, that what makes India a federal country. So the constitution originally provided for a two-tier system. Earlier there was only two-tier system, that was the union government and the state government. But at later stage what happened? Local government was also added to it. So the union and the state later adding the third tier of panchayat, that was panchayat or the local government, panchayat or municipality or local government. So we have union, state and the local government in our country. So what makes exactly India as a federal country is that earlier, as we know, that India emerged as an independent country after the whole partition that happened. That was very painful for every individual. So soon after independence, what happened? Several princely states became a part of the country and the constitution declared India as a union of states. We can see that we have a union of states, but the term federation is not doesn't exist within the constitution for this sense, but the Indian Union is based on the principle of federalism. So this union of states, that term was union of states. This term was used within the constitution and but it is based on the principles of federalism. Alright. So that's how we can say that it makes India a federal form of a country. Okay. As we can go further, the threefold distribution of power. Okay, we got to know about the seven features. What we got to know, that they were like two-tier system, but then the third tier system also occurred. That was in the later stage, and each tier has its own jurisdiction. So now we are going to talk about how the power is being distributed in each tier. Okay. It depends upon the three lists that we are going to study about. That is a union list, state list and concurrent list. Okay. So that's how the power has been distributed in the threefold distribution of power exists in our country within the union and the state level, and then the other is the concurrent list. Okay, let's go. The 7th schedule of the Constitution of India provides a threefold distribution of power, and subjects in neither of the three lists are called residuary subjects. Okay, so the subject which lies within the three lists are central union list, concurrent list and state list are the part of these lists, but those which are in neither of these three lists are known as residuary subjects. Okay, starting with the central government. So the list here, all the issues that comes include the subjects of national importance, such as we have what? Defense, banking, currency, foreign affairs, communication. These all are included within what? The union list. This union list which is controlled by the central government. So the union list government alone can make laws relating to this. And what is it? They are included in this in such a manner that could have a uniform policy. They are in such a manner so that we could have a uniform policy at the central government level. And the state government, what is different is that it within the jurisdiction of the state, it focuses upon the issues of the state and local importance, police, trade and agriculture, these are the part of the state list. Okay, within the state and local state level, the issues which happen are the part of state list. And then we have a concurrent list, this. So in this list, both the central government and the state government have the powers to make the changes, or like to have like control over the subjects which lies within the concurrent list are like maintained by both the central government and the state government. Okay, so these include education, forest, trade, marriage, adoption, succession. All right, these all cases are. But if there is a like law conflict that happens between the central government and the state government, it has to be like the power will be given to the power to change anything or to make any law related to it will be rest with the central government. The power will be rested with it will prevail to the central government. Okay, so and we got to know about the residuary subjects are those subjects which are not included in any of these three lists are known as residuary subjects. So the union government has a power to legislate on the residuary subjects. This is by the union government. Okay, now let's move ahead. That what we have read about it, talking about is question number 1. Okay, so if agriculture and commerce are state subjects, why do we have ministers of agriculture and commerce in union cabinet? So agriculture and commerce are state subject, but still we have ministers of agriculture and commerce in the union cabinet. It is because they are much more important in the national economy. They are very important because both of these sectors decide our annual GDP, and along with that, both of these sectors demand a good quality governing structure for their well implementation in the national and the international markets, because these are the subjects which are like have to be dealt with at the international platform as well, within the state as well as at the national level. That's why we have the ministers of agriculture and commerce in the union level as well, so that rather than the state issues which are like they could be issues related to the increase in the prices within the states, or such several disputes in terms of trade or something within the states. That's why we have these ministers at the state subjects at state level as well. Like these subjects are of state importance, but we have ministers of agriculture and commerce at the union level as well, so that when these, because agriculture and commerce are those subjects which leads to at the international platform as well, international markets, these subjects demand a good quality governing structure for their well implementation at the national and the international markets. So first we can say that they have much more importance. They have much more importance in the national economy. Okay. Number second, that both of these sectors decide our GDP. They decide our GDP. That is our annual GDP basically. Okay. And then number third, we can say that both of these sectors demand a good quality governing structure. They require both of these sectors demand governing structure for their well implementation in national and international markets. International markets. Okay. Okay, so let's move ahead. What we have, special powers of the state. Okay, so in Assam, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram enjoy special powers under certain provision of the constitution, that is article 371. This is important, everyone, please remember it. Assam, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram, they enjoy special powers under the provision of the constitution, article 371. Then we have Chandigarh, Lakshadweep and capital city of Delhi, who do not have the powers of the state because they are like union territories, right? So they do not have the powers of the state. These are how special powers of the state has been given. Then we have changes in the power sharing arrangement. What happened? The amendments to the constitution cannot be made without 2/3 majority in both the houses of the parliament. We must remember it that we required 2/3 majority in both houses of the parliament to make amendment in the constitution. Okay, so and dispute about the division of powers are settled by the High Court and the Supreme Court. We talked about it earlier as well, that the courts act as a referee between the disputes if occur between the state government and the union government. All right, so any division of power that happen has to be settled by the High Court and Supreme Court. Amendments occur by the 2/3 majority of both the houses of the parliament. This is very mandatory. Amendments cannot occur without the 2/3 majority in both the houses of the parliament. And then we got to know about this as well, that the powers of the state, Assam, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram enjoy special powers under Article 371. We earlier, Jammu and Kashmir also used to, like we have must have know about it, but now it doesn't happen now. So Assam, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram have special powers under Article 371, and Chandigarh, Lakshadweep and Delhi do not have the powers of the state. Why? Because they are union territories basically. Okay, so in this chapter what we read so far, we got to know about how the power sharing arrangement occurs, like we had a quick revision of what happened in Belgium and Sri Lanka. Then we got to know about what is federalism, how India is a federal form of a country, how federalism is practiced within our country. And then we got to know about that how the powers are being distributed at different levels of the government, like to the state and the central level. And then the concurrent list, we got to know about it, and those lists which are not included in both the residuary list. Okay, so in the next chapter, in the next video, we will read about how federalism is practiced within our country. Okay, till then, thank you for being with me in this at study room. We will meet again in the next video of the same chapter, chapter number 2, that is federalism. Bye bye.